What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at the 11-game main slate in MLB DFS here on Monday, July 25th on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. As always, we start with our favorite starting pitchers when we're looking at a slate, and tonight, honestly, the options are not that strong. The best one on the board looks to be Sean Manaea here of the San Diego Padres. In our pitcher model, he is number one with a 15.1 Occupy Fantasy index on this slate. With just over a strikeout per inning projected. There's not really any strikeout upside on this slate. That's right around the high water mark, 1.03 for JT Brubaker from the Pittsburgh Pirates is actually the highest tonight. Max Fried of the Braves is probably the best raw arm to consider tonight. Average is basically 6 2/3 innings pitched over his last year's worth of his outings. There's rain expected in this Atlanta-Philadelphia game, so we need to take that right down to lock to decide whether or not he's available. Minus 175 moneyline favorite, projects for just under a strikeout per inning. The other rain spots tonight, it's Tampa Bay, Baltimore, and Boston and Cleveland. So look to a weather forecast a little bit closer to lock to see what to do with those games, but as of right now, I'm looking to avoid all of those players due to the uncertainty. Tony Gonsolin of the Dodgers is probably the second best play considering the weather factor this evening. Biggest favorite on the slate, minus 315 on the money line with the Dodgers against the Washington Nationals. The Nationals have one of the lowest strikeout rates in Major League Baseball over the last 30 days, so that's one area where Gonsolin could struggle tonight. Normally averages a little bit closer to one strikeout per inning than we have him projected for tonight. Gonsolin has some pretty concerning batted ball exit velocity data as well over the last couple of weeks of play. Jake Odorizzi of the Houston Astros has the easiest matchup tonight. The Oakland Athletics are the worst ranked offense in our model this evening. He's a minus 230 moneyline favorite, just $7,800 here on DraftKings. I think he makes sense as your second starting pitcher on both DraftKings and Yahoo tonight. Probably going to be the most popular option as a secondary pitcher tonight as well. Not a ton of strikeout upside, but has a very, very strong chance of pitching deep enough into this game to qualify for a win against this weak of an opponent tonight. Now, offenses to consider. You know by now we like to look at the worst ranked pitchers in our pitcher model to have a sense of where we want to start evaluating a slate. Tonight, Houston has the best potential according to our pitcher rankings because Adam Oller of the Athletics is the lowest ranked pitcher in our model. Tyler Gilbert of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the second lowest against the San Francisco Giants. Paolo Espino against the Dodgers. Austin Voth against Tampa Bay, if that game does indeed play. Rain situation there. These are the four teams that I would expect to see very high in our model this evening. Now, StatCast data-wise, it does look like we have concerning StatCast data for two out of these four guys. So that's a pretty high degree of consensus with Oller and Espino being pitchers to target. And Tyler Gilbert here, very concerning batted ball distance. So that all starts to paint a very positive picture for some of these offenses facing our lowest ranked starting pitchers in our model this evening. Now the Stacks dashboard has identified San Francisco as the best overall high-risk option tonight. Number one by OF index, number one by projected isolated slugging, a reasonably high weighted on base average projection, and a modest implied team total. They are favored against Arizona and Tyler Gilbert tonight. Arizona on the other side of this game facing Jacob Junis of the Giants, number 2 by OF index, number 3 by isolated slugging, number 7 by weighted on base average. A lot of potential here with San Francisco and Arizona. There's no real weather adjustment in this game, so this is just straight up a strong matchup for hitters on both sides of the game. Dodgers, probably very popular this evening against Espino and the Nationals. Number 1 weighted on base average, number 1 implied team total in betting markets. It's a very good indication that you should consider Dodgers hitters top of the order Dodgers hitters, especially in low-risk contests. Looking at the San Francisco Giants a little closer, they may end up a lot more popular tonight because of the salary flexibility. So we only have 2 players that we project to start tonight on DraftKings priced over $4,000. The majority of them $3,300 or below on DraftKings. Every single San Francisco Giant that we expect to play tonight is priced at $2,800 or less on FanDuel. $15 or less on Yahoo for those of you playing over there. San Francisco in a really strong spot to succeed here. Implied team total is moving up ever so slightly. Tyler Gilbert has poor splits against right-handed hitters. He's a left-handed pitcher. These Giants hitters tend to pound left-handed pitching as well. So looking at some of the Giants with the highest upside against lefties tonight, Darren Ruff, who we have number 1 in the model. Austin Slater, an elite weighted on base average against lefties. David VR here at third base has a 690 weighted on base average. That's more than double the elite threshold against left-handed pitching, so gotta like him. 545 isolated slugging as well. And Yermin Mercedes in the outfield. 227 isolated slugging, 346 weighted on base average. Estrada here at second base shortstop, or second base over on FanDuel, also in a very strong spot to succeed. I really like the Giants tonight. This is probably the primary stack I will land on personally, just based off of all this information. Now, on the other side, we have Arizona, and they're facing right-handed Jacob Junis. The best options would be guys like Christian Walker, David Peralta, Dalton Varsho, and Alec Thomas. These guys all have elite isolated slugging projections against righties. Not just projections, elite performance against righties. So they're in a pretty good spot against Junis. Now, the Dodgers, there's not much to go over here. I think everybody is well aware of how talented this roster is. Facing right-handed Paolo Espino, at least for the beginning of this game, that means we should consider Freddie Freeman, Jake Lamb as a very cheap option here in the outfield with a 310 isolated slugging, 395 weighted on base average. Probably the best value play in the anticipated Dodgers lineup tonight. Now tonight, over on DraftKings, I do think I'm going to go with Manaea at starting pitcher. 5 high upside San Francisco Giants bats. 63.75 per player remaining to finish up the lineup. There's really no resistance here to do whatever you want. You can play Fried if that game goes off and still have plenty to fill out the rest of your lineup. With a secondary stack, probably Gonsolin is the safer bet there due to weather and the money line. 5,100 per player remaining, so I think that's probably a very viable path to take. And then obviously we have Jake Odorizzi against Oakland. Leaves you a lot more to play with there. Over on FanDuel, I've got Manaea, 4 high upside San Francisco Giants bats. That's how I think I'm going to attack the slate tonight. Keep an eye out for the daily plug at DraftKingsFantasy.com. That's where we will post our final rankings for this slate. That'll be posted by about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to talk about MLB DFS up until then, you consider joining our Discord. There's a link to do so below the description of every video that we post on this channel. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more MLB DFS.